A very good morning, children. How are you all? Hope you understood the last session, that is classification of living organisms, right? We have also seen the Whittaker's classification of living organisms. Okay, in that we have seen that Thomas Whittaker in 1969, he classified the organisms into 5 kingdoms, right? So what are the 5 kingdoms? One is Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, animalia, right? So these are the 5 kingdoms into which our Thomas Whittaker, right, he divided or classified the living organisms. Now these 5 are the kingdoms. These are the kingdoms, right? And now already we know that these kingdoms are divided into phylums and so on till it reaches the species, isn't it? So this one is called as the scheme of classification, right? So this is all already we have learned, right? So if you don't know about this and all, so you better get back to the previous lessons of videos and all and check them once again. So now our only concern is that these are the 5 kingdoms, right? So all the living organisms on the earth, right? I'm talking about all the living organisms on the earth are divided into 5 different kingdoms. Out of that, the first kingdom is the Monera. Okay, second kingdom is Protista, third one is fungi, fourth one is plantae, fifth one is animalia. And our complete unit from here is based on these 5 kingdoms and also nomenclature, which we have already studied. Okay, we have taken the example of the lion and we have already studied that. So apart from that, this is the, okay, this is the point. These are the different 5 different classifications or kingdoms we are going to study. And also in the animalia, we are going to study the phylums also. We are going to study all the 10 phylums which are in the animalia kingdom, right? So now we'll go ahead with the first one, that is Monera. And now I'm going to be a bit deep into this discussion and all. So I'll explain you everything in detail. So what I want is your concentration, right? So everybody concentrate on what I'm saying. And also if you have any doubts, you can text me as soon as possible, right? After you watch the video, you can just text me so that I can answer you back, or I will clear all the doubts and all in the next session. Okay. So now we are talking about the Monera. We are talking about Monera. What are the characteristics of Monera, right? That means what kind of organisms are placed in Monera, the kingdom called as Monera, right? How we have classified the organisms into different 5 kingdoms, and in that, what are the animals which are placed in the Monera and what are their characteristics, and what basis did Whittaker select them and classified them into kingdom called as Monera, right? So the first point is that they are the prokaryotes. They are called as the prokaryotes. Okay. Now, what are prokaryotes, right? We'll talk about this. Pro in the sense here, primitive. Karyotes is a word which is derived from karyon, which means nucleus. Okay, so in turn it is called as the primitive nucleus. That means the nucleus which was which is very ancient, which is in the beginning. Okay, those are animals will come under the prokaryotes. Okay, so most of these prokaryotes now we can take the example as the bacteria. Maximum living organisms which are in the kingdom called as Monera are the bacteria. So now coming to this, now already we have seen that word called as prokaryotes. Already we also know that there are 2 words like this, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now what are prokaryotes and what are eukaryotes, right? We will try to discuss this. Already we have discussed this, but still I am going to tell you once again. Now if you take this as a cell, in eukaryotes and prokaryotes, what is the major difference here is, here, now for example, I'm taking the eukaryotes. Now this is the DNA. This is the DNA, and this is the, and now this DNA is covered by a double membranous structure which is called as the nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane. That means now here this is the organelle, that is DNA, is covered by a membranous structure. Okay, now this one we can call it as the membrane, right, bound organelle. Okay, in the same way, if you take the mitochondria also, we have studied in the first unit, it has a double membrane. Okay, you can see the inner membrane and also you can see the outer membrane. That means again this mitochondria has the membranous structure. Okay, if you take the endoplasmic reticulum also, it has the membrane, right? So eukaryotes, like they will have the membrane around the organelles. They have the membrane bound organelles in the cell. But whereas when you come to the prokaryotes here, they don't have the membrane bound organelles like this. Okay, whatever is the cytoplasm which is present here, the DNA is just suspended. The DNA is just suspended like this. Okay, so now as it is suspended, so it is not bounded by any membrane. There is no membrane around the prokaryotes. So the basic difference in the prokaryotes and eukaryotes is, prokaryotes will not have a membrane around the organelles. But whereas in the eukaryotes, you can see the nucleus has the membrane around it. It is surrounded by a membrane. The DNA is enclosed by a membrane here. But whereas here the DNA is not at all enclosed by a membrane. So this is the basic characteristic of the prokaryotes. Okay, prokaryotes are the primitive. No, the meaning is primitive nucleus. Most of the animals are the bacteria. Okay, and in the cell, the nucleus is not surrounded by a membrane. It is not enclosed by a membrane. Okay, so that is the major difference here, right? So no membrane bound organelles are present here, right? This is the first thing we have learned, and second thing, we have also learned what are the prokaryotes. Okay, children. So now we'll go to the next part. As you can see here, the third point, that is, these all organelles are unicellular. That means they have only one cell. Okay, they are only made up of single cell. So as they are made up of single cell, we call them as unicellular. There are some unicellular organisms, but here what is the difference here is they are prokaryotes, right? That means they have the nucleus, but it is not bounded by any membrane. That is the major difference. Unicellular is a common characteristic here, but whereas the major thing is that they don't have the organ which are bounded by a membrane, right? That is the major difference. Okay, you have to confirm here that it is a prokaryote. Okay, and next thing here is, now this unicellular organisms, whatever they are, they live in the both the living and non-living things. Okay, you can find them in the air, you can find them in the water, you can find them in the human beings, you can find them everywhere. There is no place on the earth where there are no bacteria. Okay, so we have already studied in the 8th class microorganisms that everywhere everywhere, whatever the things you take, like there are microorganisms. They won't leave the plants, they won't leave the animals or human beings or air or water. Okay, soil, desert regions, hot climates, okay, cold climates, okay, moderate temperatures. So whatever the things you take, whatever the different environmental factors you take, like they are present here. That's why they are present in the living organisms and as well as in the non-living things, right? So this is also we have completed now, right? Now that is their habitat in the sense they are present everywhere. Okay, that is what habitat is all about. That means they are present everywhere. Wherever you want, you can find them. Now these organisms, now this is a very, very important point. You try to understand this one. Okay, now here the organisms which are classified under Monera are having two kinds of characters. One is, some of them are autotrophic, some of them are heterotrophic. Now what is autotrophic? Autotrophic is the organisms are able to prepare their food on their own, right? Autotrophs in the sense the organisms which can prepare their food on their own are called as the autotrophs. And what the best example you can take here? Plants. But whereas plants are multicellular. Okay. So now here, are there any organisms in the prokaryotes like monera kingdom which are able to prepare the food on their own? Yes. There are some bacteria which are called as the photosynthetic bacteria which belong to the cyanobacteria, which belong to the group called as cyanobacteria. They can prepare their food on their own. Okay, that's why we say that they have the characters of the autotrophs. Okay, and rest of all the bacteria and the other organisms which are classified under Monera, they will not be able to prepare their own food. That means they have to depend on others for their food. So they basically depend upon the other organisms for their food materials. Okay, children. So that means now it is confirmed that the organisms which are under Monera, especially the bacteria and all, they are autotrophic in nature, and some of them are also heterotrophic in nature. Most of them are heterotrophic in nature, and very few of them are in the autotrophic nature. And one of the example is photosynthetic bacteria, which is also called as which is in the group of the cyanobacteria. Okay, children. So now coming to the cell. Now this is a single cell, right? It doesn't have a mouth, it doesn't have a nose, or it doesn't have a proper excretory system or whatever it is. So whatever the process which happens in these single celled organisms, that is mostly diffusion process. That means even if it has to respire, okay, as we have seen in our cells also, diffusion takes place, right? The oxygen goes inside and the carbon dioxide comes outside. Plasma membrane, we have learned what is diffusion. We also, where are the places where diffusion takes place. Here also you can see that here these are the cells, okay, and only single cell. It doesn't have any other extra organs, right? All which are present are the organs, cytoplasm and the other small organelles are present here. So the kind of processes, life process which takes place here are mostly by the process called as the diffusion. Right? So now coming to the other point, okay, this point is also a valid point. So you remember this one also. Now coming to the reproduction. Now these are all single-celled organisms. They're all single-celled organisms. Now how they will reproduce? They will reproduce by a process called as binary fission. They reproduce by a process called as binary fission. In this process, what happens to this particular organism is it divides into it, or it splits into two. Okay, now when it splits into half, right? Binary in the sense divides into half. So this organism divides into two organisms. Okay, now they become two daughter cells here. That means one organism divides into two. Now these two are called as the daughter cells. Right, again these two again divides into four. So again you can see this organism again is dividing into four. That is how, which is called as the binary fission. So binary fission is a common process of reproduction in bacteria or the animals which are in the kingdom called as Monera, right? But now here I have written that there is sexual reproduction and as well as the asexual reproduction, right? Now what is sexual reproduction? Where there is a fusion of male gametes and the female gametes. But whereas here you cannot find male gametes or the female gametes. Can you find any male gametes or female gametes here? No, right? Because one is directly dividing in the organisms like Paramecium, these two undergo sexual reproduction. And they produce the daughter cells. Okay, so that's why this process called as the conjugation process, which we'll be studying in the higher classes. And also this kind of process usually happens in the monerans, right? That means monerans are able to undergo sexual reproduction and also asexual reproduction. Especially asexual reproduction, like binary fission, is the common kind of reproduction. But in some living organisms like mononems like paramecium, even asexual sexual reproduction also will take place. Okay, children. So now coming to the last point, that is movement. How these organisms will move from one place to the other place. Right now, for example, if you take the bacteria, they have the flagellum. Okay, they have the flagellum. So these thread-like structures which are present on the body are called as the flagellum. Okay, if there are two, we call it as flagella. Okay, so these are the ones which are helping in the movement. They will help them to move from one place to the other place. Now, if you see the paramecium, okay, you will see all hair-like structures on its body like this. Okay, hair-like structures on its body like this. Okay, these hair-like structures are called as the cilia. So they keep on continuously moving so that the paramecium can move from one place to the other. So that is how they move from one place to the other. So they use the flagella and also cilia to move from one place to the other place. Okay, children. Now coming to the last part of the mononems. In mononems, like they are. I said they are. Most of the organisms are the bacteria. So they are divided into three groups. Now we'll see what are the three groups. So children, now these mononems, especially we are talking about the bacteria. These bacteria are placed in three groups. They are placed in three groups, right? So first one is the archbacteria, second one is the eubacteria, third one is the cyanobacteria. So these are the three different groups of bacteria, right? So in the archbacteria, especially when you talk about the archbacteria, these are the ancient bacteria. Otherwise you can say primitive bacteria. Okay, these are the ancient or the primitive bacteria, and some of the archbacteria are now seen in the very hot climates. They are seen in the hot climates. Okay, archbacteria, there are ancient and primitive bacteria. They are the ancient and primitive bacteria, and now you can also see some of them in the very, very hot climates, right? That is about the archbacteria. Coming to the eubacteria. So you can take the examples of the two organisms like Streptococcus and E. coli. Right? So these are the two bacteria which are placed in the eubacteria. So coming to the Streptococcus, okay, you can see that they are responsible for some diseases. Like there are a number of diseases, but I'll give you some examples of them. For example, you can take the scarlet fever. Okay, second one is rheumatic fever. Scarlet fever, rheumatic fever, and also some kind of throat infections. Okay, and when it comes to the E. coli, so they are responsible for the diarrhea, and also this E. coli is also responsible for UTI, that is urinary tract infections. So this is how E. coli is also responsible for some disease called as diarrhea and the UTI, that is urinary tract infection. Next one is the cyanobacteria. In the cyanobacteria, what you can see is the photosynthetic bacteria which are called as blue-green algae. Now these externally they look like algae, but internally they are having the characteristics of bacteria. But still they are able to prepare their food on their own. That's why they become the example for the autotrophs. So here some of the mononems are very, very harmful to the living organism because they cause some harmful and deadly diseases in the human beings. Okay, children, so this is all about the Monera. Okay, so by this we come to the end of the kingdom called as Monera. Tomorrow we'll see the Protista and fungi. Okay, children, until then, have a great day. Take care. If you have any doubts, you can just text me. I will get back to you in the next session. Okay, have a great day.